love the God. It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up, so what can make a better me?
Hey, happy Wednesday, viewers. Welcome back to the Pommy and Fazz show. As always, same banter, same quality takes, but a different hat today from Fazz. How are you, Fazz?
Oh, look, I'd be lying if I said I was on top of the world. It's been a pretty rough 3 days. 72 hours of just pure unadulterated banter on Twitter, which is great. I'm exhausted from it, but look, the show must go on. Dust myself off and here to chat footy and absolutely love it. And as usual, with my main man Pommy, we'll pick a few people up because I'm sure there's still a few people who are a bit flat, but let's get up and about.
Hey, we'll do our best, and I suppose, as always, we'll deep dive into the murky world of Carlton.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.
Wow, we want retribution. We're not going to get it, but we might get a bit of an understanding. As everyone filters in, Peter, good day to you, Gox, Paula, Kusa, Costa, and Harley, who has just become a badge member. I think you're an expert, aren't you, now, in the Pommy and Az Facebook page, mate. So it's good to see you. So obviously, Blues news. It's been a tough week to be a Blue, isn't it, to be honest? And obviously, let's discuss the elephant in the room. The first club in 45 years to miss finals by a solitary point at the MCG to Collingwood. Obviously not the best Sunday afternoon we've all had. But talk me through it, Fazz, and chat. Just give instead of analysing the game, because I've done that all week, let's try and give me something to not go to the Bolt Bridge.
Well, okay. All right. We've all analysed it to death. We all know that incredible high that we felt, 25 points up or so, and that incredible low we felt when Jamie Elliott kicked the goal. Not too dissimilar to Cozzy Pickett the week before. We know that. It's been a horrendous 2 weeks. But let's not get a one-way ticket to the Westgate. Let's not, let's just calm down a bit. We put 8 goals on a team in a quarter that I believe is going to go deep in September. We took a team who I believe will also go deep in September in Melbourne all the way. Like, they had to beat us, So I think all said and done, I made the comment a fortnight ago that we could play our best football for 2 weeks and lose, and Bulldogs could bullshit 2 wins and make it, which is exactly what happened. The Bulldogs were horrendous against both GWS and then again Hawthorn. They were horrendous, and we probably played our 2 best games we've played for the year almost. So it's a tough pill to swallow. We can talk about 8-2. We can talk about failure missed finals. We can talk about all these different things, but the reality is it is a tough pill to swallow. However, we're the only team to have not played a player over 30 this year. We only conceded 100 points once this year. We had the Coleman medalists. We've got 5 players in the squad of 44. There are some positive things that should get us up in the morning.
Mate, I'm glad you've gone the positive. I feel better, Fazz. You've made me feel better. I mean, that's it. I mean, obviously it hurts, and I'm a firm believer that my pop used to tell me that, son, a man is judged not on how he enjoys the high times, but how he faces adversity and how he responds. So for me, I am going to go with that logic, right? It's disappointing. It hurts. I've probably cried a bit too much. I've got a little bit pissed off a bit too much. you know what I mean, over the year. But I am going to say this, that if next year we finish in the finals, this isn't how the story ends, it's how the story begins. And it's either going to be a wonderful first chapter in a very, very, very successful period of time for this football club, or it's the closing chapter of a very disastrous rebuild. So that is the way I look at it, and I'm going to go on that one. But I figured, let's do something a bit different. Let's talk about something to try and drag us out. And I want everyone in chat's player of the year for Carlton, but also your player of the year if it's for someone else as well. So if you are a Carlton fan, give me one of both.
Yeah, so I think for Carlton, it's actually quite easy. I think it's pretty much out of two players. For me, it's Cripper and Charlie Curnow. As far as our player of the year, whether or not that best and fairest, we know they do vote it a little bit differently in how they go. But for me, it's Cripper and Charlie Curnow, and then Daylight. I think that them two are the clear standouts. And as far as for the opposition, I think Jeremy Cameron, I think, was probably one of the more exciting players to watch this year. So they're mine.
Mate, I'm going with, and I can't. I'm going to do it. He broke my heart this weekend, but Charlie, you'll always be my favourite, my friend. You'll always be my favourite. A lot of Sards as well. I think Sard is actually a great shout. And Peter's taken the words out of my mouth here. I've really, and it's probably because I'm a bit biased, I do watch a lot of St Kilda games. But old Sinclair at St Kilda, I think has come on leaps and bounds and has probably been my favourite player to watch outside. Yeah,
it's good
Mr.
to watch.
You know what I mean? Outside bit. But Gus Brayshaw's a great shout from Popper Farrell. Someone else said it as well. Someone else who's also football intuitive. Nick Dacos came in there. Oh, I've got Fazz on the show, Bugs Bell. Help me out. He's going to mention Dacos at least 20 times. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the comments are brilliant, though. I agree. I think that there's been some good season this year as well. I think for like Lana there, Tuck Miller. There's been a lot of players this year that I think it isn't your usual bunch. Do you know what I mean? There has been some new names that have really caught the eye, which I think is incredibly exciting for the AFL. A lot of the young guys as well coming through. Like, I think we're going to talk about the most improved, but in a minute. But I also think the Rising Star nomination obviously got released today. The most valuable youngster has been named as J Newcomb. There is a lot of young footballers as well coming through. That really says to me in the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to have a real strong competition, particularly in that midfield.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think, look, one of the hardest parts about what's occurred 3 days ago is picking ourselves up and starting to think we need to reflect on this season as a whole, not just as Carlton, but this has been one of the best AFL seasons in recent memories. Like, it's been a really exciting season. I think you're right. Someone just mentioned Shai Bolton. I think you throw him into that group of upcoming players. It is exciting. It is exciting. It almost feels like a changing of the guard type season where, you know, your Dangerfields, your Pendleburys, Selwoods, Cotchins, those types of players, Dusty Martins, are all they're still brilliant, but they're kind of taking that little back seat and to the young boys coming through, and I think we're set for a golden era. I really do. There's Brayshaw from Freo, you know, Clayton Oliver's still young. These types of players, Shai Bolton, as I said, Walsh, Connor Rozee, Dacos. I mean, there are some phenomenal young footballers that I think almost like a generational talents.
Mate, I think you've nailed it. And we've just had Nick Dacos actually officially now is the AFL Rising Star.
Yeah.
And also, I found this quite weird. Clayton Oliver joined MVP with Tuck Miller. I will say Tuck Miller's been sensational, but I wouldn't have felt like Clayton Oliver has been as dominant as I remember him. He's definitely a very good player, but I wouldn't say he's been dominant.
Was that the Coaches Awards, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was the coaches' votes. So I think it's an interesting one without analysing it too deeply and going through it. I think when Gold Coast win games, Tuke Miller would be getting 10 coaches' votes and get the occasional votes here and there. Melbourne, I mean, I can't remember too many games where Clayton Oliver was definitely out and out best on ground, which I'm pretty sure we'll see come Brownlow night. But I think he would have got a lot of 6s and 7s, lots of 6s and 7s from both coaches throughout the season, and he probably would have polled in nearly every game, but probably never not really being best on. So that's going to be an interesting watch if anyone can be bothered going back and looking at all the Melbourne coaches' votes. But I'm with you. I think the Clayton Oliver one, he was good, but I don't think he had the season that he had the previous.
Mate, it might be one of them things. And then we go on to, who do you think this year has been your most improved Carlton player? We'll just do it for Carlton players, this one. Yep. Who is your most improved Carlton player this year? I know a lot of you are Carlton. If you're not a Carlton person, give me your most improved from your club. But who's a player that you've looked at this year and you've gone, you know what? I thought you was shit. You're pretty good.
Yeah, look, there were plenty. It's a pretty big podium as far as who I thought was shit and have actually been all right. I'm going a bit left field with this one because he wasn't at Carlton last year, but I did think when we picked him up, I was kind of in the back like, oh, all right, good one, because I've watched him a couple of times and he was like, I thought he was a cat, to be honest, and that's Libbojrjr. So I think as far as in the AFL competition, I think he's one of the most improved players because at the Western Bulldogs, at the Western Bulldogs, he was an absolute, he was scared of his own shadow. I watched that game, I think it was against Essendon. I'm not sure if it was the final, but there was a game where he got absolutely murdered. And I thought, this young fella, he's not up to it. And then when we picked him up, I'm like, oh, all right, we'll see how he goes. So I think he's been an enormous improver for the football club. And I think actually across the competition. A lot of people say Brayshaw from Freo, of course, but Libbojrjr for me, not just for Carlton, but across the comp.
Mate, I think that's fair. You know what? I'm in between two players here. I'm in between Fisher. I think Fisher, particularly last week as well, you'll see what I mean. There was that wonderful tap over his head, which created the goal. And I think Fisher's added football nous this year as well. But I think head and shoulders for me is Cottrell.
Yeah.
I honestly, last year, I thought Cottrell was going to be like a Jack Nooms. He's kind of a placeholder. He's going to come in if someone's injured. You know, he's going to be like your next tier player. But I just thought Cottrell, particularly when the game has been on its arse, he has really shown me that he's learned, he's listened to his coaches, and he's someone that he makes me happy. I don't know about anyone else. Maybe I'm getting old and sentimental. I'm usually a cynical type of cantankerous old boot. But there's something about Cottrell. When you see him out there, it's like we're out there. I feel like I'm out there when he's there.
We all have a soft spot for Cotters because he's a Carlton supporter. We all know he's a Carlton supporter. He was doing what we were doing as kids. You know, he would have been kicking that goal, pretending he was probably Chris Judd or whoever. I think he's been on record saying Eddie Betts was his favourite player. I think so. Practicing snapping goals and all that. So he lives and breathes. We look at him, and it's kind of like Mark Noble for West Ham. I look at Mark Noble, and he's living a fan's dream, and I think that's why we've got a soft spot for him. He's living the dream that we all wish we could, like Jack Silvani, and I think that's why we got the soft spot for him. I had him very close to Young. I did. The only reason I went with Young ahead of Cottrell is because of the way Young stepped up when Wiedering went out. I thought it just tipped him ahead. But Cottrell, great shout, and long may it continue, because I think he's got a real big future at Carlton if he takes another step. Similar to what you're saying about Zach Fisher, add that footballing nous, add those 1%ers, and you become a bloody good footballer.
Mate, I agree. And I think what I love about Cottrell is he looks like that kind of mate, and we've all got this mate at a barbecue who one of your mates brings beers and they're not screw top, and he's like, don't worry. And he just opens it with his teeth. Cottrell looks like the man who can open a 24-pack with a variety of orifices. I think this is great from Christian as well for most improved. Saad might be up there as well, because I remember this time last year, a lot of people saying, oh my God, Saad, oh, this is why Essendon got rid of him. There was a few Carlton fans turning on him last year. Yeah. And I think Saad, especially like Christian says, definitely someone who I would say as top 3. And the last category, I'm going to put you all under pressure because it's usually me making stupid calls and then Collingwood fans clip it this time of year and send it. However, you can't this year because I told you Nick Dacos would win the Rising Star. So, early riser for next year. Who is your guy that if I asked you this question this time next year and say, who is going to be the most improved, who are you saying?
Yep, for me, there was an obvious easy answer, and I didn't take it. I've decided to go a little bit more outside the box. The obvious easy answer is Motlop. Everyone will say Motlop. He'll take that next step. Fantastic. I didn't go there. I do think he will, but to me, I've gone a little bit other side. I think Adam Cerra. I think I saw a little bit from him on the weekend to think, he's only 22. He could take the next step. He could become a bona fide A-grade midfielder, like we're talking this changing of the guard. Get yourself in that category, mate, of Brayshaws or of Shy Boltons. Get yourself in that category. McCluggage, Zach Bailey. Get yourself in there, and I think he can. I really do. I really do. Mate, so, yeah, Adam Cerra for me.
I think that's an absolute quality call because this week was probably the first time I saw the Cerra I remember at Freo when Fife went down. I remember watching him last year when Fife wasn't in the team and going, fuck, this kid's pretty good, man. Like, do you know what I mean? I remember throughout the years going, I thought Dow and Cerra were kind of split a hair. But then that year happened when he went on the ball and I was like, Jesus, this kid's different. This kid's got something.
The thing about him is, and I put Motlop in this category as well. He took his moment. In that third quarter, he took his moment. His goals, both different types of goals, the long kick and then one immediate snap, absolute class. That snapping goal that he kicked in that third quarter was absolute class. Took his moment.
It reminded me of that goal that Neil kicked, which I thought was the nail in the coffin against Carlton when it was the first goal. You kind of thought, okay, cool, your class is so much better than ours if you can do that. Yeah. It just made me think, fuck, we can score from anywhere with Cerra.
Yeah. So, Motlop kicked his 2 classy goals as well, but Cerra's, I just felt he took his moment. And I genuinely believe he's 22. A lot of people forget he's so young, because he feels like he's been around forever. He's 22. He's not even in his prime yet. And I think that there is a very real possibility that we could be talking him as our second best midfielder behind Cripps next season. I'm not saying he'll overtake Walsh or anything, but I just think as far as pure class goes, you want the ball in his hand. You want the ball in his hand. I think there's
a big call, Fazz. Tell me he's better than Walsh next year. Go on, tell me, Fazz. I need it.
Adam Cerra will be more damaging than Sam Walsh next year for the Carlton 25.
Yes, we fucking love a big goal.
There you go. He'll be more damaging. Scoreboard. Yeah. And I love Walsh. But
you're talking about like when someone makes a big call. There's some great ones here. We've got Motlop, we've got Durden. I love that. I love Quinton Kemp. Smoky there. J Sauce.
Had a great final, Kemp. Not a final. The last game against Collingwood in the VF. Had a great game, Kemp.
Mate, I like that. Boydie. Yeah, people have forgotten about him. Cunners, Bugsbow. Great shout. Someone we haven't seen.
Going to be hard to be the most improved when he's not on the list.
He's getting rid of him. Lou, I don't mind this. Philp as well. Someone that, if they stay on the list, that's an opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kemp or Carroll, I love that. Ches. I've got another big call. Do you know what I mean? Look at this. I love a big call. Dow. Oh, fuck off. Fucking hell, Webby. Come on, mate. Webby. Can't get away from him. Here's my big call. So last year, I remember it was about this time I started talking about Curnow being the best player in the world. People saying, Pom, you're high. Here it is. Next year, Caleb Marchbank will be all Australian and will be the most improved.
Whoa,
Caleb Marchbank, different gravy. Yeah, how I feel about Kerno, exactly what Marchbank is down the back. He's a different gravy.
I love it.
Gravy.
I think that's a great call. I have been known to steal this phrase, and a lot of people said as well that Wiedering and Marchbank are just Harry and Charlie, but the other end. And I think we saw the last couple of games with Marchie, and I think we did forget. Some people might have forgotten. I'll put my hand up. Maybe I did forget how good he actually is. Reads the ball. And how
tackle, bro.
That tackle is awesome. He's mobile. He's tough. He a lot of people think, oh, our backline's too tall, but he's not a big lumbering defender. I really, and having Lewis Young there, Wiedering Young and Marchbank, I think that's tasty. That is tasty. What a call.
Mate, and I agree with this from Gav. I get excited because if people who know me, they know I love an intercept defender. It's Taylor Swift's nudes to me. It's that exciting. It's what I Google the most, intercept defenders, right? And honestly, McGovern and Marchie in there, oh, it's a different gravy. Lederman, I can confirm I'm wearing pants. Yeah, you saucy minx. But honestly, I think they stay fit. Tell you what, different gravy. And you know what? I dare say Marchbank, I agree with you here. Definitely could be. Jeff, I think he might be the EDFL's best player, actually. Lock that in. But they're your early risers. I love what everyone's got. And let's have a look what's going on in the world of AFL.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really.
Well, I want to start on something that brings Collingwood and Carlton fans together, right? Oof. And at the moment, we're at war, but the British love going to war with the French and the Germans. And there's a great tale in World War I. We stopped warfare to play football. So this is our version of football on Christmas Day. It is 10 minutes of bagging the fuck out of Essendon. Essendon are absolutely imploding at the minute. Now, I'm looking at this a bit different. Now, it might surprise some Collingwood people because I know that you guys follow Swoop Luke. I'm a little bit different to Swoop Luke. I genuinely don't enjoy the misery of other clubs. And proven by my Facebook and Twitter, I genuinely don't give you shit after the game, whether I win or lose. But there's something about this one with Essendon, isn't there, that the wheels haven't just fallen off. Like it's very similar to Carlton this time last year, apart from this seems to be the most craziest. Like suddenly Adelaide Crows having their own version of an Audi German concentration camp seems like a good thing compared to what's going on at Essendon. It is a bizarre thing, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it is. And I want to be very careful because I'm a little bit torn at the moment because some of my closest mates could have had the opportunity to stink the boots into me about Carlton. Mitch, Richie, Aaron, this is for you guys. They wrapped their arms around me. They're all Essendon supporters. They wrapped their arms around me when I was going through a real tough time with Carlton. So I'm going to talk about this factually and not emotionally in regards to Essendon. So I'm going to make that very clear. I'm not going to here to sink the boots into Essendon out of respect for my three closest mates who literally could have finished me off on Monday. I'm talking they could have put that final nail in me and that was it. No more Fazz and Pom show, right? But they put their arms around me. So I'm going to talk about it factually. They're fucked.
Sorry.
Like that and this is all respect. We've been there. All right, 12 months ago it was us. And if anyone knows, and I'm going to put this right, if anyone knows what a fucked club looks like, it's Carlton supporters because we have been there. And we don't even know if we've got out of that problem yet. We think we have it, we're not sure. They're in a world of hurt. Look, it can change quickly. But gee whiz, people are dropping like flies. I don't even know where to begin with them. they're falling into a similar trap that Carlton fall into. They can't afford to let senior players go. If the news about Heppel going to Gold Coast, if that's going to happen, they can't afford that. The biggest thing for me, and Mitch and Richie both raised this with me at work today, and they said, how can you make list changes when you don't even have a senior coach? And I'm like, that is fascinating. So they delisted 3 players and someone signed on. They don't even have a senior coach. They don't even have a CEO. Who's running the show down there? This is the question I want to know. Who is running that show? Is it Dodoro who runs the show? I don't know, but very interesting that you're making list changes without a coach.
Shadow of Sheedy.
Well, look, when we get to, don't want to give too much away for the controversial opinion, but I'll be getting to that Sheedy a bit later in a controversial opinion. But there is something stinky at that football club, very similar to Carlton, and I honestly believe it's got to do with the likes of that. The old boys, you got to get them out. The guys who sit there and say we'll throw money at everyone, we'll get it done. It doesn't work like that. I mentioned it. I think it was last week's show. These people who sit in this fantasy world saying we're the Essendon Football Club, we win premierships.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't. You don't even win finals. It's the same with Carlton. So I'm not burying Essendon because I said the same thing about Carlton last year. You need to get those people out of your football club because respect the past, honour the past. But if you keep looking at the past, you're never going to improve. And I think Essendon have spent a lot of, and all the narrative in the media, they're spending a lot of time looking at the past and trying to replicate the past. It's not like that.
Mate, I think you're spot on. I think it was proven. I thought, and I feel sorry for Mitch. I know he's a bomber and he's a mate of yours. I feel sorry for him. There's a part of me that enjoys it, but like I said at the top of this segment, I don't enjoy it because there's always a part of me thinks, what happens if it was me? And you've only got to watch us lose a pre-season game and me review it to see how I act, even in the most trivial things. So imagine if it's a big thing. But I think what worries me is when you heard about Clarkson and said that they gave a full presentation to him, but it was too late. That he didn't have time to do his due diligence. And that reeks to me. And I really got Carlton vibes from this when we started going after people in the Teague thing. And, names were thrown about. And I always said at the time, it was almost like it was a Carlton arrogance. That we're Carlton, ring, ring, Clarkson come. Ring, ring, do you know what I mean? And they're going to be like, oh, my God, Carlton want me. Do you know what I mean? And how we've always gone about big name players. Ring, ring, you're right, Cornelio, we're Carlton. And he's going to be like, oh, okay. Do you know what I mean? And that, for me, reeks of old school mentality. Even the way that the president, like Gabs just said there, oh, no, he's going to be our coach next year. 2 days later, they're sacking him. It's that old school mentality of, you know what, I can do what I want. And I listened to Merritt, and I felt actually sorry. A good mate of mine, Bo, I know he watches sometimes. I actually felt sorry for Bo because Merritt signed that big contract, and it was the way he said, oh, when I signed the contract, it was on a few promises of what was going to come. And he said it really downhearted. He said, it doesn't look like that's actually been what's going to happen. And instantly I thought, if I'm Essendon and I'm an opposition club, I'm maybe calling him now and going, Zaki, baby, do you want to come? Do you know what I mean? We can get you out of this mess. So I think it's a very interesting thing, and we'll wait for Fazz's rant because he'll probably go into it a bit more for us. But it is a bizarre situation. I have enjoyed the media kind of totally treat Essendon totally differently to Carlton. It's now acceptable for how they've treated their coach.
Bizarre.
When it was us, you would have thought, Mark Libbojrjr had banged Teague's wife and sent him video.
Yeah, I couldn't get over that. I couldn't get over the narrative around the comparison with the two. Even the way with North Melbourne, it was an absolute coup and brilliantly done for them to get Clarkson without doing a process. Yet when Carlton tried to do it, it was what a shit show of a club not doing a process. But anyway, that's we know what the media is like. But I think with Essendon and their new president, Barham, sometimes it's better to not say anything. Do you know what I mean? Because that press conference was just, I got what is it, secondhand embarrassment. I felt uncomfortable watching it. And I'd have got no affiliation to them whatsoever. They're in a world of hurt, and do you know what? To quote the great Brendan Bolton, it's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems. And that goes with Carlton as well. Yes, at the end of the world, we didn't make finals, but it's never as bad as it seems. Okay,
Mate.
And Essendon, world of hurt, it's never as bad as it seems.
You know, this is interesting, Herd coming back. I have a theory, and a lot of people say I'm stupid, but I always have a theory, and it's happened a lot at big clubs in the UK. Something dodgy has happened, and a club icon has taken the fall because he didn't want to incriminate it, and he's been one of the names. I always get the impression that James Hird knew less than what was made out, but also there's a lot more people involved, and it was a lot easier to focus it on him and a few others. I reckon that was deep-seated, and I reckon that this is a little bit like the issues we went through after the salary cap scandal. There's still people there that are involved with the club, but they weren't named, and they're still lurking around. They've got their claws in the club, but the people you think have gone have gone. So, like, for me, I don't think James Hird's the answer, but I think they need a big change out, and I think there's a reason you're seeing a lot of female presidents do good jobs and do it, because I think it's a break from tradition. I genuinely don't trust a lot of the men in the AFL because they've been around way too long, and it's sad, but that's Essendon. We'll let Fazz surprise you at the end. We've obviously got the AA. We did our AA a couple of weeks ago, not Alcoholics Anonymous, the All-Australian. Some surprises there, we've got to say, haven't we? Was obviously Doc not mentioned, who incidentally was in everyone's All-Australian team. That's a pundit. So that's kind of how you get away with it. But there was a few swans. I mean, obviously, let's talk about him straight away. I was shocked to see no Nick Dacos.
Shocked. Absolutely shocked. I can't believe it that he wasn't in the squad. There's no other words to describe it. They've clearly punished him because he's a first-year player. Like there can be no other reason. And similarly, and I love Jacob Wiedering, but how the hell did he make the squad? Yes, his first half of the season was pretty solid, but how the hell did Jacob Wiedering make the squad? So he's clearly made it because of a body of work, and Nick Dacos clearly hasn't made it because he hasn't had a body of work. I don't know. I as soon as I saw him not on there, I've just accepted it for the biggest piss-taken joke that it is. So,
mate, I don't think it. Like, I thought there was a few selections, like the Wiedering one. I thought they always do it every year, though. If you start off well, they seem to it seems to be there's a guaranteed 2 players we picked for the first 6 rounds, right?
Yeah.
And that is AFL. I thought it was weird that Nick Dacos didn't get in, but Josh Dacos did. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought
get the names wrong, did they?
Probably it is the AFL. You know what I mean? I thought it was a little bit weird. I also thought that, when you go through it, if Wiedering gets in, there's maybe an argument as well for Paddy McCartin. Do you know what I mean? There's a good argument for that. And then there were some players there that I thought, as well. Brennan Cox, he's been very consistent, but again, no wingers, no traditional wingers in that system as well. Again, it feels like one of them. It's just a weird thing, isn't it?
It was, and I think, tonight, the actual team comes out tonight, so it'll be interesting to see how they place them all. Looking at the list they've got, I mean, the wingers, well, it'll have to be McCluggage and Josh Dacos, wouldn't it? Because there's no other wingers unless they're going to put a midfielder on there. I don't know. So it's a bizarre one. It's a bit of a piss take, the All Australian, to be honest. Well, the squad.
I mean, they usually do a reverse St Kilda and they pick 5 inside midfielders. So
Yeah.
it's like the opposite
Yeah.
of St Kilda, who have no inside midfielders. I mean, I thought Dawson was unlucky at Adelaide. We both had
Very
him
unlucky.
in
I
our
had him in
team.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dawson wasn't in there, which I thought was a bit of a shock. Ed Langdon is in the comments there. You know what I mean? A little bit of a shock. Blake Hardwick as well. Ranked the number 1 back pocket defender in the league. Very, very weird. Very weird, but I mean, it is what it is. And then obviously we've got the finals coming up. Who's everyone's in chat? Who do you, if I gave you had to put your life savings on it, who are you putting it on?
I can make an argument for 5 teams, but you're saying my life savings? Melbourne. If I had to put my life on it, Melbourne. I think Geelong will win it, but I still don't know if I can trust them. I still don't know if I can trust them in finals. Having to play at the MCG. I know they play well at the MCG, but it's not their home. I think Pies will get them in the first final. Personally, but yeah, Melbourne. If I had to put my life on it, Melbourne. But it sounds weird because Geelong's my tip to win it, but my life, Melbourne.
It's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? It's going to be an interesting one. I've got a sneaky feeling that the final is going to be Richmond-Melbourne.
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my head that Richmond win it. I had Sydney at the start of the year, but I'm just watching them and I just think all the sides I've watched this year, Melbourne, apart from the Cats, but the Cats usually start squeaky bum time in finals. So, like, I'm used to the Cats being very good.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think the way the finals is set up, you're not going to want to stuff up here. Geelong and Collingwood actually have almost a free pass to the preliminary final. Okay, in fact, both of them, in my opinion, will both be in the preliminary final, regardless. Whoever wins or loses this week, because they've got the soft semi. Fremantle Doggy, the winner of Fremantle Doggies will play the loser of Geelong Collingwood at the MCG, please. All right. So both of those teams will play in a prelim. The D's and Swans is huge, because whoever loses that, I believe, will go out in straight sets. Yeah, everyone's whoever loses out of D's and Swans will go out the next week, I believe, against a Richmond. Especially if it's Melbourne. Richmond and Melbourne at the G in a semi. Gee whiz, Sydney might be able to get him up at the SCG. But that's definitely not the side you want to be on. Geelong, Collingwood, they've got an easy pass to prelims. The other two, it's going to be squeaky bum time, I agree. So personally, I can't see it not being a Geelong-Collingwood grand final. I know I said Melbourne for my life, but I can't see it not being a Geelong-Collingwood grand final because they're just going to have the easiest road through. Could even be Collingwood-Richmond grand final, to be honest. Because I think Richmond will get there. I think Richmond will get there too.
I've just got a feeling. I just watched all these sides. Geelong, I can't trust in finals yet. And I could be wrong, but I've seen this before. Donovan in the year, finals come, manic football comes, and they don't have that control. I just feel like Melbourne have got the momentum because they've only recently won it, and I think they've still got the best to come. There seems to be a gear. And I think Richmond, it's just that experience. And I think when I look at their route to the finals, their predicted route, they've got Brisbane, and I think just that maturity in that group, and you can guarantee Dustin Martin gets up for that game.
Yeah, they'll stick it up there.
It just feels like they could. Collingwood, I just feel that, and this is no detriment to them, and it's no hate whatsoever. It's not because I don't like them. I just feel once they're in the finals, I think it will get found out because I think all teams are going to play a manic brand of football anyway. So I think it offsets it. And I think you saw Geelong versus the Pies. they showed the way that you can do it if you go hard.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I've got a feeling it's going to be Richmond. I've just got a feeling it's Richmond. Do you know what
I
I've got a
worry.
feeling.
I think, given the way the footy's being played, see, I've chopped and changed about 3 times already. That's how good the final series is going to be, because I believe the reason I can't trust Melbourne at the moment, and I know I said I put my life on it, like their forward line doesn't excite me as far as key forwards. I think key forwards are going to have a big part to play in this final series. Hawkins and Cameron, and then obviously Riewoldt and Lynch for Richmond. Mike, I'll put one caveat on this whole thing. If it's going to be a wet spring, put your house on Collingwood Richmond grand final. If it's going to be a wet spring, because them two, they are unstoppable in the wet.
Mate, you've heard it here first. So
Check the weather.
But we've got some great ones in chat. We've got like pretty much people have tipped one of the 8. So someone in chat, no one's ticked doggies, I've noticed.
Yeah.
So providing the doggies don't win, someone's right. But then we go to Pom's Ponder, and I'll see what I'm pondering today.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top.
Right, so we've touched on it at the start of the year, and I think that the media, I always pick on the media. This is why we watch this show, because Pom fucking hates them. But this one here is, I've noticed it, and I've been going through it and doing my end of season review, and I do a generic AFL one. And I think there's some absolute fabulous stories this year, particularly at this time of year. I think the Dogs' remarkable taking the top 8 from the jaws of defeat is a phenomenal story. I think, Collingwood's rise from 17th, I hate to say it, absolute fucking terrific story. Terrific story.
Beautiful. Yeah, it is great.
Carlton's rise, terrific story. Do you know what I mean? A team that couldn't score over 100 2 years ago, now doing it on the regular. I think there is so many positive stories like Gold Coast Suns, and they seem to have stabilised and actually find a barometer for themselves. I think the fact that Richmond have done it against all odds. Most people had them dropping out of the 8. I think there's a lot of great stories in the AFL, but all we've heard this week is all the negatives. Carlton have choked, and I understand Carlton have choked. We're a big seller in the papers. McRae's game plan, it's not sustainable. Essendon's shit. And I just think it's taken the light off some of the great stories this week. Do you know what I mean? The great stories. There's so many as well. Like Ben Cunnington hardly got any airtime coming back like Doc did. Remarkable to see. Sam Doherty. Do you know what I mean? Well done, Costa. Yeah, just as I'm saying it, brilliant. I think there's so many things we can look back at this season, AFL-wise, that should be reported. I thought the fact they mocked Chris Scott with him saying that they should reward the minor premiers a little bit more. 100% they should, because he said something very telling why they're so good. Number one side every week is their aim. It's not for a period of the calendar. He teaches his team to be the best for the entire season. So he says he thinks it's a disgrace it's glossed over. Geelong have really set the benchmark. I can't remember a time in recent years where a side has been so above everyone. So above everyone. Do you know what I mean? Albeit, yes, they get their own special games. But I just feel the media in this country is in danger of becoming the UK in the 90s. Very, very, very focused on the bad shit as opposed to the good stuff we're seeing. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is... for me, it turns it off. I do think, I hate to say it, but I think, Collingwood, they should have some press about the remarkable turnaround. Carlton should. Doggies should. We should have some of them normal. We should have some positives. We should hear about Ben Cunnington. Fabulous story. Sam Doherty a bit more. It's very easy to always look at the negative. And I think the press need to report that for the good of the game, really.
I couldn't agree more. And once again, that's about 6 weeks in a row that you've taken down the AFL media, and I love it. I think it's indicative of our society anyway, this whole seeking out negativity. I mean, a lot of the things at the Adelaide Crows camp, I get it needed to be reported. I get these things needed to be reported. And maybe this is the problem because of the mid-season, pre-finals bye. But all the reports today were about how fucking shit Essendon are. Isaac Rankin requesting a trade and Gold Coast are collapsing. Salary cap this and all that. It's like, hang on a minute. We have just completed the most intense AFL season for a long time, where it literally went down to the last game of the season. We're about to go into one of the tightest final series. We just had a conversation there, and we named literally 6 teams who could win it. And all they're talking about is crap. Yes, we know Carlton choked. Yes, we know that'll sell papers. But where's the positivity? Where like, because I'm going to say, and yeah, you'll all give me shit, fine. But this Collingwood story is a great story. 17th to double chance. Don't talk about how Carlton choked. Talk about that. It's the same. And actually, this is straight to the Collingwood supporters as well. Actually, if any of you fuckwits are listening, celebrate your win. All right, we get it. Carlton choked. We're shit. Ha ha ha. But stop fucking going on about it. Celebrate your win. But that's indicative. You'd rather. I've seen Collingwood supporters with their profile pictures as Charlie Curnow are crying and Jack Silvani crying. And okay, big man, good one, right? Celebrate your own win. Well, since when did it become putting other teams down is better than celebrating your own win? I don't get it. But that's what the media do. They'd sooner put clubs down than celebrate the good things.
Mate, I agree. I said it. I said it to Swoop, and it's why I've stayed quiet when I won on the live and Swoop was crying on my live. I made one post, and in that post, I did say congratulations on a great game and a great atmosphere to both fans. And the next tweet I made was something irrelevant. I think it was something to do with my kids or something.
Yeah,
look, I know it's not something I mean, personally, I'll give it out during the game week, but I understand why they do it, though. I do understand why they do it.
I get it too, and I know I've changed it from your media to this, but I do think it is indicative, this negativity being highlighted, because I mean, I made a post on Twitter saying this exactly what I just said, and I genuinely, if Carlton had have won on Sunday, I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm an idiot, I genuinely believe we would have been so excited that we've made finals that we wouldn't have given those shit stains even a second of thought. But like, yeah, fuck you guys, awesome, but we'd go celebrate our making finals. And I keep getting told time and time and time again that you guys would have acted the same. You guys would have acted the same. No, I think we would have been so up and about that we made finals. We wouldn't even spared a moment to think about those grubs.
Mate,
just like
I would have been busy sending tweets for you to sign up to my OnlyFans, doing novelty Carlton nudes.
But I like I said, I do think it's connected, because I think it's toxic. I love that word toxic. The AFL media is toxic, and it creates this toxic.
It drives the narrative.
Yeah. And now supporters are actually getting sucked into it. Now is making the negative story the narrative. And what's going to happen in the finals? What's going to overshadow a brilliant story in the finals? What's going to be the negative story? Let's see.
Mate, I'm with you, and that's my point. I think this time of the year, do you know what I mean? I think it's the time that 8 teams need to be rewarded. Do you know what I mean? In the press, do you know what I mean? And I think there's some wonderful tales. Like I say, I've listed them. Pies Rise. I thought Doggy's absolute remarkable balls of steel to do it 2 weeks in a row under tremendous pressure. Yes, we couldn't do it, but credit to them. They did have to do what they had to do. Do you know what I mean? But I think, like, you know, as soon as Zorko said what he said, they've got their willies out to it. Do you know what I mean? And it just amazes me, the hypocrisy of the media. I say it every week, but, you know, can you imagine as well, and I've got a caveat to this, just on that Zorko point, I'd love your opinion, Fazz. I'd love the fans' opinion. Can you imagine if Zorko had said something racist and Brisbane said, we want to let bygones be bygones, we've apologised, but now we need to support Dane? That's what they've said. And Zorko's come out today and said, I want people to know that it wasn't a premeditated thing and it wasn't one-sided. But he did, it has been confirmed, he did wish his mum dead. I just find that bizarre that the media has just dropped it. But imagine, I've got to be honest, if that was an Indigenous player and he said that, I can't imagine the press would have said, oh, well done, Brisbane, for saying, yeah, stick by your player. Because when they did that with Tex Walker and Eddie Betts and a number of Indigenous players actually said that is not how Tex is as a person, and they'll be really disappointed that he did it. That they were very quick to jump on Adelaide and say that they were a bad club for not chastising him more. So it's
and I
a
think
little
that's
bit
the point.
consistency.
Well, that's the point. You know, the media are picking and choosing when to go with the story, and I think you're right. They're happy. It's like the Cripps situation with John Ralph. Quick to quick to.
I got blocked by Ralph as well.
There's another one. The media were quick to criticise Sydney supporters for booing Jack Ginnivan sitting on the bench. Yet there's not been one mention about the Collingwood supporters booing Patrick Cripps when he got the medal for best on ground on Sunday. So if you're going to go hard at one thing, you've got to go hard at the other. You just can't pick and choose when the moment to take the moral high ground. And yeah, they're a piss take. And we'll talk about it every week. Everyone listening here, turn your Channel 7s off, turn your radios off, fuck them, listen to us. We know what it's about, and we're the ones who aren't going to sugarcoat shit and have agendas.
Mate, that's what it is. And like, honestly, that's why I say it, because I mean, I actually think the Twitter, I actually kind of, I wouldn't say I empathise with Collingwood fans, but I understand the frustration that all the media is talking cow and fucked up, and not that Collingwood have done something truly remarkable. It's very, I can tell you, as a stats man, it's as rare as rocking or shit, 17th to 4th, right? After all they've been through, the slating of the trade period a couple of years ago and stuff, it just makes me think this is why then Twitter becomes toxic, because I get angry when Carlton do something great and they're telling me that Cripps is a cheat because he's bumped once. Do you know what I mean? But that pisses me off, that they don't talk about Carlton being 8-2, but they talk about Cripps doing something he's never done before in his life. So it makes me like, I get angry. And then sometimes I wouldn't say I take it out on Collingwood fans, because I've got mates who are Collingwood fans, so I can DM them stupid shit. But yeah, it makes it a thing. I haven't yet, LyndenH, but the Teague tattoo is coming. Don't worry. But then we go on to Fazz's Fury. And what are you doing for me, Fazz? Let me have a look.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything.
So what have you got for me, Fazzy?
Look, I'll start off by saying one of my most hated things in AFL football is the rule changes and the continual efforts to change the game and change the rules. So I'll start off by saying that, which will contradict myself, because I'm saying there is one thing they need to crack down on. They need to do it now. They need to do it yesterday. All right? Not tomorrow, not next year. They need to do it right this fucking second. This time-wasting bullshit when players give away a free kick and they're sitting on top of the ball or they're holding the ball and they're like, whose is it? Is it his? Like, it's out of control. It's a fucking piss take right now. I saw De Goey do it a handful of times. I see it every week. The players, they give away a free kick and they just kind of lay on the ball and like, oh, I can't get up. I thought they were doing a really good job. Round one, they gave some free kicks away. I definitely remember Carlton Richmond. Chera got a 50-metre penalty because the Richmond player took too long to throw it back. I thought they were getting there, but they've just gone back the other way. It's fucking ridiculous. When there's a one-on-one contest, and the player's giving away a free kick, and he still goes, "Whose is it?" Mate, it's the bloke you were fucking playing on. There's not another bloke 30 meters away, and you're still asking who it is. That's what they need to get. They need to get rid of. They need to crack it down on it right this second, saying, don't stand near the ball. Don't stand over the ball. If you're, and you know how sometimes they leave the ball between the legs and just stand there.
Yeah,
if you are,
that fucks me off that.
Yeah, if you are retarding the opposition player from getting the ball with your body, 50 meters straight away. Get the fuck out of there. I'm so sick of it. It drives me insane because it happens. I think it happens. Nearly every free kick, I reckon it happens. Nearly every free kick.
Mate, I'm with you. And honestly, it's the same teams as well really exploit it. And it is one of them things that you hear. A big thing, I said it this weekend as well, is I've started to notice as well, encroaching the area of the mark is becoming more and more lenient, where you're actually now starting to see the umpire say this, clear out 2 or 3 times, where at the start of the year and towards the end when they started to modify it, there was a warning and then it was blown. Like, I noticed it a few times from Carlton and Pies players this week, where the umpire is like literally holding their hand and walking them out of the protected zone. I'm like, if you call a 50,
I hate that.
It stops it quick.
Yeah, the players are getting so much leniency when the umpire goes 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. Say it once, 1 meter. You don't do it 50 because footballers aren't idiots, right? You do it round 1, or you do it in the preseason like they did, and everyone criticised that there were 8 50-meter penalties in the Carlton Melbourne preseason game and all that. You do it once, they'll never do it again. Like I said, go back. Anyone who's got some spare time, go back and watch the Carlton Melbourne preseason game and the Carlton Richmond round 1 game. I'm only using them because I remember them and I watched them. And you watch some of the 50-meter penalties they got given for the time wasting and not throwing the ball back. Only do it once and it'll never happen again. And it started creeping back in. And honestly, it's a piss take at the moment. It is an absolute piss take. It happened every free kick. Is it his? That guy's there? Yeah, mate. The fucking bloke you were on. It's shit, and that's what they need to crack down on it now, right this second.
You know what to add as well? You know the rule that I actually hate, and I'd love to know your opinion and the fans is, and it's the most, it blags my head, is the nomination at the ruck contest.
Yeah, that's got to go.
Because that seems to take way too much fucking time as well, right? And it's great call that by Fazz Senior. I do enjoy Toby Green's style ruck work by Mason Cox.
It was
kick to the head.
That was ridiculous.
How long it takes for them to actually deduce who's in the ruck. And I'm like, it's fucking obvious. Like, there was a point where the umpire took, and I counted it, 17 seconds in the third, as he was trying to get the attention of Mason Cox going up against Pitternet. And he had the audacity to ask Cripps, was he in the ruck? And I'm like, just toss the ball up. Like, how hard is it? You know, it's kind of obvious when 2 big guys are together. Like, what is it? And I agree that the rules have got too confusing. I agree with you. And I agree with what Gab says. Should be one rule change and then a modification. Don't keep changing them throughout the year. Just keep it what it is. Everyone's asking as well, ShaveTheMo.com.
Okay. Now, I'll mention it here right now. So I had my grand plan. Okay, guys, I was going to do it live on fan cams on Sunday night, but then it was going to be a celebration. But given what everyone was feeling, and I didn't think people would want to see this dickhead shaving his mo. It would more be like a wake rather than a celebration. So that's why it didn't get done. My grand plan was to do that, and honestly, the way the last 3 days have gone, is anyone really that desperate to see me shave the mo in our miserable hour?
I am.
Yeah, my wife agrees. So look, it can happen. I want to think of a good way to do it. I just want to rock up one day and it'd be off, but it was been a rough few days, and I don't think it would have really got the got the publicity it should have. because it's a pretty big deal if I'm gonna shave
Mate,
it.
we'll definitely arrange a time, like I said,
it's
and
going.
I promise the viewers we will make a big thing of it. So I'll accept Fazz's excuse because, to be honest, on Sunday, like you're lucky you got me on fan cams. To be honest, and Jesus, I could have done other stuff.
Maybe if Colin will go out in straight sets or something, another celebration. All right.
There we are. There we are. Well, I mean, hey, tell you what, Tim, I like this idea.
I can go without being on Channel 9 News. I think there might be a little bit of an issue there, maybe. But
mate, I want you to get that through OH&S.
Yeah,
Little 7-year-old with a fucking cutthroat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I don't mind this idea. Do it for Doc.
Yeah.
For Doc.
Yeah, we were, and I just, like I said, I want to find a good way to do it. It was just Sunday night, which was my grand plan to do it, just didn't seem the right opportunity, right moment.
I genuinely think though, getting the kids to do it, mate, that's the best idea ever. Like, I think it's worth the potential prison sentence. I'm going to be honest. Because I think that's great TV. I mean, because I wouldn't trust my kids, and they're half me. Shaving my face, I wouldn't trust them, let alone strangers who I've probably told off all year and given homework.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good. Well, we go now from one controversial subject to another controversial subject. Controversial opinion, and Fazz hasn't buried anyone yet, so it might be time. Good point by Lenja.
I did think that as soon as the words come out of my mouth.
So what have you got for me, Fazz?
All right, controversial opinion. Mitch and Richie, if you're listening, maybe just turn it down a bit. So, I mentioned before about Essendon, how they're in a world of hurt and how Carlton have been there and all that. The conversations and talks about James Hird coming back, I'm going to tell you this right now. If James Hird steps 1 foot into that football club again, Essendon are far, far worse than any team in the competition, in the history of the game, in the turmoil they've been in. If they appoint him as senior coach again, what the fuck? And it's got nothing to do, I promise you now, it's got nothing to do with the drug saga. Absolutely nothing. I'll give you a few stats. Hird, 7 years out of the game, did fuck all. Fuck all. Went traveling, did whatever, right? Come back to GWS to do fuck all. Just sat in the coach's box. It'd be nothing more than a PR stunt, a publicity thing. Going back to the whole, hey, look at us, we got the old boys back, we get the band back together. Fucking pathetic. Stinks of desperation. Absolute stinks. The fact he's even linked, the fact that there are people on that board who think it's a good idea is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And the other thing as well, get rid of Kevin Sheedy. Take him out the back, finish him off, put him in an old folks home and never hear from him again. That bloke, I love what he did for your football club. Fantastic. But he is fucked. He is the cancer of that football club. He may have got you premierships and the reason you were so good, but he is a cancer at that football club that needs to be removed now.
Mate, I agree with you. I think it's going back in time. When I saw it, I don't mind the idea of him, like, if the new coach wants him involved, do you know what I mean? Because I do know that GWS have said that he's been quite a good mentor to some of their younger coaches and things like that. But I'm with you. To me, the fact his name is even being leaked to the press strikes me as them trying to do a lot of what Carlton have done, where they try and appease the old members who have been there when we've won flags. And it kind of, brings a tear into their eye. Do you know what I mean? A bit of a tear in their eye. And you think, oh, you're just trying to get them on side. Because I think Jin Securia should be it. He's already on there as their coach. Yeah. Highly rated. He interviewed for the Carlton job. Like Bugs Bell said, it does stink of Judd. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's got like Chris Judd type thing. I agree. I think they need something young and fresh. And, they've got a perfect opportunity. Half as their back room has gone. So,
Yeah.
perfect opportunity now to totally change the culture. New time, new Essendon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's just crazy. Honestly, it's just crazy. And honestly, it is scary. If the people, I've looked at the people who have been removed from their positions or left their positions, and they were Rutten supporters and all that stuff. The people left at the moment. This is the scary part for US fans, and be scared, because the people that are left currently on that board are James Hird supporters. The fact that, and someone said to me today, oh yeah, but they just delisted his son. Why would he coach there? They've delisted his son so he can coach there. They got rid of the conflict of interest. Get rid of the conflict of interest, reel him back in. What better way to get ourselves out of, to buy ourselves some time? That's what weak boards do. Let's buy ourselves some time. We'll reel James Hird out, might tick a few boxes, get a few more members. My God, like, I'd love to see it, because it would fuck them up completely. But gee whiz.
Well, I think it was a fan
scary.
forum as well that Kevin Sheedy mentioned, which has started the rumour, because a good mate of mine is an Essendon fan, and he has been showing me links of the whole, what they've been saying in their forums. And it is all the old guys going, oh, Sheedy, imagine if he was president and he goes for it. He should be president, then bring Hurdy back. Maybe we can get Joe back from America to help with the midfield. And I'm like, and it just reminded me of Carlton when we were shit, really shit. And I started to hear the same fucking names, of the glory days. And I'm like, that's not how success works. Do you know what I mean? And I think Tim nails it. People need a use-by date on the forehead. Spot on, mate. I couldn't think of anything more. Fazz is a deep thinker, to be fair. He is. He's not just
I've been called worse.
He's not. Do you know what I mean? He's not. But what I've got here is a bit of a funny one, because usually I'm serious. And I've got to follow that Rich Notter up. But I've been going through it, and we know that I'm famous for my trade and draft previews and predictions. But the big one here is, I've noticed the trade period is really fucking irrelevant. Now Carlton aren't bottom four. Like, there's nothing in the press. No big name players want to leave. There's all these reports that North Melbourne could have got 2 to 5 million surplus. Essendon are probably paying peanuts now. That they've got a huge budget. That they're working at 90% and 85%. But no one gives a shit. And when we were worse than them, we were being linked with players in the All-Australian squad. So my controversial opinion is, without Carlton, this shit falls off.
Yep. Absolutely spot on. It's going to be the most boring trade period of all time, because Carlton won't be involved that much. I love it. I reckon that's a great call.
Like, I've started to see the press now say Carlton need to trade Mackay. Do you know what I mean? And the press suggesting maybe Carlton could trade Harry, TDK, and Kennedy to free up 2 million. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm like, what? Because you want us to buy a big name. Like, like I was reading Kane Corns' article today, and I'm like, you just want us to buy a big name, don't you? Like, you need us to spend 1.2 million on a player today. And you could say, they were talking about Bruce, great call. I think Bruce, I think someone in ruck depth is brilliant. And I think there's cheap options out of there. Do you know what I mean? There's cheap options that Carlton can very well squeeze in. Bruce not being an expensive option. Goldstein wanting to go into coaching and give us a year to tide us over. Cheap option. But that would fuck the AFL media if Carlton went out and did 2 4th-round picks, 400k in the salary cap. They jettison 8 players. They go into the ruck. They go into the draft. And the AFL are like, oh, well, Jesus, what do we do? Like, so it's proven to me now the AFL need Carlton. So AFL, I know you watch this, some of you, because I've been blocked mysteriously by journalists without even communicating with you recently. You know what? If you're watching this, fucking just give us a pat on the back once in a while because you need us. We don't need you.
I love it. I love it. Great call. Great call. And this just came across my desk now, Pommy.
Uh-oh.
Adam Sard has been named on the half-back line in the All-Australian. So,
Hey!
he's in.
I was worried what had come across your dress.
No, and it's hot off, just straight up. And Tuke Miller named on the wing, which I think is a great because he's played so much footy on the wing. I think it's awesome.
Told you, it's reverse St Kilda. They'll play
been recognised as the wing.
Mids. Well, we finished now with the last 10 minutes where we get to hear from you, delightful people.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella shit.
So, question time. So throw them in. Young and hard. We got this first one here from the legend that is Bugs Bell. Where does Pill rank in the list of current rucks? I'm guessing you mean in the AFL, I'm assuming, not obviously at Carlton. Fazz and chat, where would you have him in the AFL?
Middle, probably about where we are. 9th-ish. Around about that. I think there's a few outstanding ruckmen. Gawn and I think a few upcoming ruckmen. Is he up there with Darcy? I don't think so. O'Brien, I think, is probably better. So I reckon about that 9th or 10th, I think, personally.
I'm going to say, I think, based on how he's come back from injury, I'm seeing a lot of Pitternet at Hawthorn. I'd say that Pitternet's 14th, 15th. Yeah. If he can get back to where he was start of the year before the Darcy injury, probably where Fazz says 9th, 10th. I don't think he's... I think he could be very good and very reliable, but in an ideal world, I'd love a top 3 ruckman to go with that. But then again, I think everyone who's not Collingwood, Melbourne, and Fremantle are saying the same thing as well.
I'm with you. And again, just hot off, just come across my desk now. Cripps has been named starting in the midfield in the All Australian. So we got Sardi and Cripps so far.
Cripper. And then we got this one here. What did I see in Charlie that made me say he was going to be good as he was this year?
Oh, great question.
Well, a bit like when I look at the draft, what I'm doing is I'm looking for something that's different. And honestly, I don't think there is, and I'll stand by this now, I'll die on my hill. There's not a key forward in the game that is as quick as him, but that is also as nimble on the deck, that is also as strong body-wise. And I think as well, probably a bad time to talk about it after last week. I think his ability of his natural eye for goal. When I look back at that 2017, you go against that Doggies game, all four of them goals are goals that just aren't a key forward's goal. Particularly that second one, which is an overhead kicked pass. He beats Caleb Daniel to the ball, manhandles Daniel, manhandles the key defender, and then snaps it from the pocket. I just thought if he could stay fit, there isn't anyone that matches up on him in the league. And so I took a chance on his fitness. But genuinely, it was just what I'd seen, and I just knew that the time was now, particularly with Harry. In my opinion, I think Charlie is twice the player Harry is. And I thought if Harry can kick 55 in that team, Charlie can kick more. And that was it. Just a bit of luck and a bit of skill from your Uncle Pom.
Great call.
Even every dog needs a bit of luck. Gunston or Bruce, chat?
Bruce.
Really?
Bruce. Yeah, I'd take Bruce ahead of Gunston. Yeah.
Oh,
I love Gunston. I love Gunston, but for what we need, I think Bruce to be more important for us.
Mate, I like it. I'm in a Gunston if I was going for it, and I'll tell you why. When I was at the Hawthorn event, he talked about Clarkson liked enforcers, and there was one player across each line that was allowed to argue with Clarkson in game, and he was the forwards one. And I look at our forwards, and I think our forwards no disrespect to Curnow and McCoy, I don't think either of them are leaders. And I don't think either of them are the right mindset to do it. And I think they're very indisciplined, our forwards. And I'd like Gunston there for maybe a year or two, just to sharpen the 8 ball. I said it about Eddie Betts at the time. I don't think Eddie Betts is a natural leader. I think he's a natural nice guy and teacher. But I don't think he's the kind of guy that can discipline. And I don't think he plays a disciplined game. So I think for me, I'd love Gunston there to really say, look, this is where you need to be. And you saw Voss screaming in the 4th. Push up to his forwards. I'd like Gunston there just for a year.
That's a good call. That's a good call. Yeah, I think either would be good. And hang on a minute, yep. Cool, got that. Just got through my ear. Charlie Curnow has been named in the forward pocket.
Of course he is. Do you know what I mean?
So that's Sardi, Chris, and Curnow.
Do you know what I mean? We should change the name of the All-Australian to the Charlie Curnows. And we'll finish this one. This could be a team thing. Chat, give me 4 players that realistically you would bring in.
4 players.
Or 4 needs if you can't think of players.
Okay. Well, for me, straight away, I'm thinking Bruce, an experienced small forward. I like the idea of Blake Acres. Hearing he's available gets me really excited because I think he could definitely sort our team out. Goldstein, I'd love us to have a chase at him. Just an experienced ruckman. And if possible, another experience. I'm not saying Jed Anderson, but when I heard that he wasn't getting offered a contract at North, I'm thinking 29-year-old midfielder. I'm not saying Jed Anderson, but if we could find another midfielder of that 28 to 32-year-old bracket that we can get in there, I'd be looking at that. Would I look at Trent Cotchin? Possibly. Would I look at someone like that might not be realistic. Someone like Travis Boak. We need to get someone else. We need to find someone else, another leader to squeeze in there. So those 4, Bruce, Blake Acres, Goldstein, and another leader in the midfield.
I think this could be quite controversial, but I see a little bit of TDK in Timmy English. Where 2 years ago, a lot of people thought he was going to be the next Grundy and he's going to be the next Gone. Very tough role. So I think his value is at an all-time high. So I would be looking to trade TDK out to free up salary cap space to bring Grundy in. With the draft being littered, I'd bring in Isaac Kelo to play that ruck forward role like Jackson does off Grundy. So we've got the forward. I'd bring in Gunston. I'd bring in Lachlan Shaw, which would then allow Doc to go into the midfield more. So we've got that rotation. And then I would bring in Blake Acres because I think we need another wing. And then with the remaining draft picks, I would throw as much as I can at the best small forwards and wings that we've got because I think we've got enough inside midfielders. And hopefully by the end of that, we're winning. But I reckon TDK, if you sell him on the open market now, you'll get first because I think people are smelling the coffee on him. And I could be wrong, but I just get a vibe when I watch him. It's Tim English. And I don't think he will be quite as good as it perceives now. I think he will get found out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I've been a big... very boisterous on trading out TDK. So excellent.
I love it. Imagine Isaac Heaney.
Oh, Toby Green, Isaac Heaney, one of those types.
You know what? My mate was actually saying this. What does chat think, right? He was saying, watching us, and he's a Richmond fan. He was saying if Richmond approached you and said that they wanted Dow, and he said, say you got 2 seconds. 2 seconds for Dustin Martin. He was like, would you take it? And I was like, for Dustin Martin. So he was saying hypothetical. So he was like saying, say if you got a free second for Jones, which we won't, but he said just say you got it. The value was 2 second rounders and Dow, and we'd give you Dustin Martin, and he'll only play till 2024, so you get 2 years out of him. Would you do it and take a chance?
Oh, geez, let me think. Yes.
Yeah, because I was thinking I can find you 5 players in the draft that I think would turn for Dustin Martin, would learn it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
100%.
Zaha. You know what? Little third. That little third talk. Because I think Jesus has got one wrapped up. One side wrapped up. I just think you need that other half forward side wrapped up. You tell me you're not turning on Jesus.
I'm not turning on Jesus, but I think someone at the football club might. That's all. I'm just saying. I just said Voss has made his position on Jack Silvani very, very clear. So let's just see.
Fazz is doing it.
No, I'm not. I like Jesus. I reckon he should be a part of every team. But Voss has made his stance on Jack Silvani very clear. I'll be interested to see if we've got a full list of boys, what they do. And for what it's worth, I know you're all going to come after me. I think Jesus is in our best 22. All right, he's actually probably their top 5 players. But I'm just watch this space with Voss and Jack Silvani.
You know what? Like, I'm looking at small forwards, and you know what absolutely kills me is in my trade preview, I was huge on Stengel. And I remember in the chat, loads of people going, but he's got some drug problems. And I was like, fuck the drugs. If he kicks 35, I couldn't care. I believe my exact words were, I'll buy him the drugs in the off-season if he kicks 35. They were my exact words from memory. And look at him now, Stengel. I do think I'd love a Stengel because I think, and what does chat think about this? I see a lot of people hate Matty Owens. Now, I've got a video coming out soon where I go through the list and give you my thoughts, right, of what we do, right? And I don't know if Peter's been watching because we do mention Sydney Stack because I call him the B-Tech Shy Bolton. But one of the things is all the best sides in the world of AFL history have played a Matty Owens. And Matty Owens, as that defensive pressure forward, is better than them all, right? Even kicking more goals than most of these players. The problem Matty Owens has got is Carlton played Durden and Motlop. And for some reason, I can't answer this. That's the club to answer. They are trying to do what they did with Dow and coach his natural instincts out of them. So Motlop, if you remember my draft previews, was never a high-pressure forward. He was a guy that could tackle and kick a lot of snags. Same with Durden. He was a little goal-crafty sneak who had a little bit of mongrel and he liked the tackle, but his natural ability was changing the game with a bit of X-Factor, and both had X-Factor. And I'm seeing them change that from them massively. There seems to be a massive focus on forward pressure for both of them, and I don't think that's right. So for me, I think Owies is in the best 22 if you play a model where there's 2 small forwards, like a Motlop and a Stengel, someone that is allowed to just do what he wants and kick snags. Like, I would love to see Owies with Eddie Betts in his prime. That would be a dream. Eddie doing the goals and him doing the hard work.
No, I'm with you. And I think, there has been a little bit of issues with the club coaching out the natural instinct of these players. There's a reason they're drafted is because they've got the instinct. Let them play. I'm seeing a lot of comments here saying Jack Silvani won't get traded, blah, blah, blah. I didn't say he'll get traded. Go back and listen. I just said, will he be part of the best 22? I think he is. I think he's part of the best 22. Voss clearly doesn't because he dropped him. I'm just saying. He's not going to get traded. Don't be ridiculous. The club's not that stupid. But
wow.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah. Well, as an old man of YouTube, I can tell you sometimes when you give the benefit of the doubt, it can be your undoing. My best advice would be never underestimate the unpredictability of stupidity.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Dear, oh dear.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree. And I think to mirror Bug's bout and thing, I do look at our list. And if you go back, I'll have to find it. It's in my paperwork somewhere. There's an article in 2017, end of it, where Stephen Silvani talks about the side. And it was about what he was going to do that window. And he said that he needed 4 or 5 midfielders. 4 or 5 25-year-old players.
Yeah.
And the reason was, he said, is they're going to be the bodies to protect these young blokes we're getting. So in 3 to 4 years' time, when we think we're in a flag-winning position, these boys are ready to burst out. And that year, he did the entire opposite for some reason. He went out and fucking started frittering on hacks, which he later admitted was a pressure from the club to bring in a name. And Mitch McGovern was that name. And Voss and Sauce didn't mind it because it was a plan in a year's time to bring in an interceptor and a third forward. So very interesting, because if you did that, Carlton's makeup would be very similar to Collingwood. A large contingent of 28-year-olds and plus with a lot of under 22s. Very interesting. Very interesting. But I do agree. I wouldn't have played Eddie Betts. I'll be honest. I don't think he would. And I said this last year. I thought we missed a trick playing them earlier while Eddie was there as backup. I do think the club missed a trick, though, getting rid of everyone in a fell swoop. Do you know what I mean? They seem to get rid of everyone in one fell swoop. And I thought that was a bit of a disaster, because suddenly, when Cripps is your oldest player at times with Jack Nooms, that's a bit of a fucking worry.
Yeah, that was my biggest issue in a space of that 2-year period. And you can say what you want. Your opinion on these players is fine, but we're more talking about the experience. In the space of that 2 years, Carlton lost, got rid of Cruiser, Simpson, Murphy, Eddie Betts, Levi Casbolt. That's 5 players, 30 plus. A lot of people are talking about Ed Curnow retiring and get rid of Jack Noons and all that. There is no possible way that Ed Curnow or Jack Noons will be off our list going into next season. It can't happen. And if it does happen, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And just to answer your question,
yes, and Daisy Thomas too. Yep.
Nick Newman's been injured. I meant in games this year, the oldest player has been either Noons, Newman, Cripps. Like, that's a worry when you're looking at most sides have got that 33-year-old. These guys are old in experience, though. Daisy, I feel like I do feel like we have to slightly bring them in. And I know Bugs Bell has mentioned, he was right earlier, that Voss has mentioned they lack some Premiership experience. I do think that's probably something they've got to bring in. It did have to happen. It's inevitable. But I reckon if Nick Austin was probably there when Sauce was there, I'd imagine it would have been a bit more organic.
Yeah, and I think as well, I think people just don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Ed Curnow or Jack Noons are a part of our best 22. I'm not. What I'm saying is you need these players on your list, because a football club is not just about the 2.5 hours you play on the weekend. It's a 7-day a week. You need these senior players in and around the club, teaching the young boys how to be men, how to train properly, how to eat properly, all this stuff. You need these people around. And like I said, listing those players, Simpson, Murphy, Cruiser, Casbolt, Dale Thomas, Eddie Betts, 6 players, got rid of 2. I really wish we had have kept 1 or 2 of them on the list going into this year. Not to necessarily play as much, but to just be there, because we needed, when shit hits the fan, holy crap, they named all Australian umpires. Fuck me. When shit hits the fan, who do you turn to? You know, when what happened against Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, when these players go to training, who are they turning to? Who's putting their arms around them? Cripps? Doherty? You know, they're still young. They're still young themselves. I mean, I know Doherty's 28, 20, but been great in and around the club because he is experienced losses more than anyone. He would have been great to still have on that list, training, playing. I know his body was cooked, so he's not the best example, but you can't just get rid of these people. You just can't. And I see a lot of people with list changes saying Nunes and Curnow will be off the list. They can't. They can't. They have to stay on the list. They have to be there. And I know people say, oh, play for the VFL. No, no, no. They need to be part of the AFL program from day one of preseason to the end of round 23. They need to be in and around, not playing VFL and all this. They need to be in the squad. That's why we need to get a Bruce. We need to get a Goldstein. We need to get a Gunston, whoever it is, more of these players in and around the team to teach these boys, to wrap their arms around these boys, because we're going nowhere until we get this experience in. Why are Collingwood so good? Pendlebury, Sidebottom, Taylor Adams, Crisp. That's why they're so good.
It is something that McRae has mentioned. A lot of people have quoted that quote McRae did, saying that it's unsustainable and at times he doesn't quite know how they do it. If you actually play that interview, though, he went on to say, but then I look at the players that are out there. Do you know what I mean? And I can understand how miracles do happen. And you look at them players, you know what I mean? You've got Howell, Pendle, Sidebottom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even to an extent, do you know what I mean? You've got players like Jordan Roughhead, even though he's retired, but he's been there, he's done it. Do you know what I mean?
Jamie Elliott. Jamie Elliott would be close to 30, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
you know, like they've got these players.
And when you speak to the players, it's quite funny. Ed Curnow and Jack Nunes come up quite a lot in the terms of just their influence in diet and handling yourself and stuff like that. It's real good. So I agree with what Gab's saying here. I'm quite happy getting rid. Peter, getting rid of Jack Nunes and getting Ed. And I think Gav said if you get players with experience, spot on. I think they're disposable, and I think that's very good for the club. Because if you hear Clarkson speak,
that's fine. They can get rid of those players. That's fine, but you need to bring players in, because I tell you, and people who are disagreeing with me, that's fine. But I will say, name me a premiership side, a team who's won the premiership who didn't have 30-year-olds in it. Name me one. So if that's going to be the reality, then we are happy to not win the premiership for the next 3 years, because we need to get 30-year-olds in the team. It's as simple as that. You need to have them in there.
Mate, no, I agree with you. And we've enjoyed that. All Australian umpires. I wish I could do the umpires, because I slag umpires off more than anyone. So I'd be doing it. But we have gone a half hour over time. As usual, we're shit time managers. But thanks to everyone who joined the chat. Much love. We'll be back tomorrow for a little bit of round ball.
Yes, unfortunately.
It doesn't stop. Fazz's punishment, because my team won for a change.
Yes,
so
yes.
I'm happy. So we'll see you next week, though. Send in your questions as always. Much love, and see you later.
No worries. See you guys.